Okay, Dr. Bush. Fenton Area Public Schools is asking voters to support a significant bond vote in November, which will provide substantial improvements, upgrades, and additions throughout our district for years to come. But let's start from the beginning so that we can all be as transparent as possible with our community. First, what exactly is a bond and what can bond funds be used for?
So the state of Michigan allows school districts, public school districts in Michigan, to hold an election of the voters in the community to sell bonds on the municipal bond market. And in turn, when those bonds are sold, the proceeds go to the school district for capital, infrastructure, and building type of improvements. They can also be used for technology and transportation. The school district has to go through a comprehensive process to get our ballot approved by the state of Michigan. It's reviewed by the Michigan Department of Treasury, and then ultimately the vote is put before the electors in the community.
Excellent, thank you. Now, we keep advertising that this bond is a zero mil net increase to the taxes that are levied on our community. How is this possible?
In 1998, the voters in the community approved a $41 million bond that built new cafeterias and restrooms on the elementary schools, and then also was responsible for the funding that constructed AGS Middle School. That was nearly 30 years ago. The debt for that bond is now falling off. So said differently, the middle school and the bonds that we sold to build the middle school are now paid off. So what the proposal asks for is for the voters to continue paying the same rate, no increase, and then the district will be able to sell $122 million of bonds for new projects around the district. So it's no increase because we've got some debt that we're paying off, and this bond would simply replace that.
Excellent, thank you. Now, what about all of that COVID money that our district received during the pandemic? So that money is officially known as ESSER funds. So why can't we use that money to pay for some of these bond projects?
When the pandemic started in March of 2020, the federal government, along with the state government, passed a number of laws that assisted schools in funding themselves during the pandemic. The government knew, both the state and federal government knew, that districts would need additional dollars to teach remotely, to keep the schools clean and safe during and then a return from the pandemic. Those are known as ESSER funds. And those ESSER funds were based on the amount of students that you have in each district. In our case, we received approximately $4 million worth of ESSER funds. But the key with those funds is that they had to be used for learning loss during the pandemic, safety and virus protection in the buildings, and they could not be used for anything else. They were very specific, limited funds, only related to the pandemic, not for general use.
Great, thank you, Dr. Bush. Now, what happened to the money that the district received from selling the property next to the football stadium? That property where Aldi is now being built.
The district sold the property behind the football stadium that Aldi is currently building their store on. And the Board of Education, back in 2018, when the property was put up for sale, specifically designated the proceeds from the property to go to a secured entrance at AGS Middle School. AGS is the only building that does not have a direct entry into the main office. So when an individual enters AGS, they are buzzed in, but they don't pass through the office for additional monitoring or direction. The proceeds from the sale of that property, about $1.3 million, were specifically designated by our Board of Education to go to security upgrades at the middle school. And that whole new front entrance on the middle school will cost about $4 million. 1.3 of it, based on the board designating those funds for safety and security, will be funded from the sale of the Aldi property.
All right, thank you, Dr. Bush. Now, here's kind of a long one. So with most of our school buildings being built in the late 50s or earlier, this bond provides significant upgrades to our mechanical and plumbing systems at each building, HVAC and climate control systems, and that does include air conditioning and upgrades to our air quality systems, as well as improvements to our roofs and our parking lots, and even providing new ADA compliant and zero entry playgrounds at each elementary school. All of that doesn't even include the safety and security upgrades, the new building and site renovations, and the instructional technology and classroom furniture that's also part of this bond. So the question is, if we don't ask the community for this bond, or if the bond does not pass, how does a school district attempt to maintain our buildings and these mechanical systems while still trying to provide the latest instructional tools for our staff and our students, along with the new upgraded facilities to support our academic, athletic, and performing arts programs into the future?
The district has about a $45 million general fund budget. So what would occur if the bond were not to pass is those needs would still need to be addressed. And they would have to come from the general fund budget, which means we would pull dollars away from the classroom, away from the instruction of our students, to help upgrade some of these infrastructure needs that we have to take place. The nice thing about the bond is in our bond application, we're specifically listing what the projects are, and the community will know that we've spent those monies on what we said we were going to do, because we will be able to fund those projects without taking valuable dollars away from the classroom.
All right. Again, thank you, Dr. Bush, for joining us today, and we look forward to the next episode.
Thank you.